right, level uppers. Ever been deep in a spirited discussion? You know, the kind where your furniture is considering filing for witness protection, and suddenly your brain decides to go rogue? 1 minute, you're a calm, rational adult meticulously laying out your points. The next, it's hit the big red total system meltdown button, deploying responses ranging from Hulk smash this entire argument to become invisible shrubbery and hope no one notices me hyperventilating. If your brain sometimes treats a minor disagreement about, say, the correct way to hang toilet paper, like it's fending off a velociraptor attack during a meteor shower, you're about to find out why. Today, we are kicking down the door to your brain's prehistoric panic room. We're going to expose the automatic, often primal physiological responses that get triggered before your logical mind even has a chance to put its pants on. Get ready for the full fight, flight, freeze, fawn freakout. So you're feeling all these things we talked about in part 1. What's actually happening up in that noggin of yours? Let's take a peek. When a conversation starts to feel like navigating a minefield in clown shoes while juggling live badgers, your brain doesn't just sit back and sip tea. Oh no. It goes into full-blown DEFCON 1, which, for your brain, often involves a lot more screaming and a lot less rational thought than the actual military version. Your sophisticated, highly evolved, latte-sipping, podcast-listening brain essentially devolves to its most basic primal settings. Think less thoughtful human, more startled possum with a megaphone. First up, that classic, the all-star lineup of terrible choices. The fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. This isn't just for when a bear is chasing you, though if a bear is chasing you, please stop watching this video and deal with that first. Your brain helpfully deploys it when your boss says, with a completely neutral expression, "Can you pop into my office for a sec?" First, you've got the fight response. Suddenly, your colleague's suggestion to use a different font on the PowerPoint isn't just a suggestion. It's a declaration of war, an insult to your ancestors, and a direct challenge to your right to exist. You become verbally aggressive, your arguments escalate with the speed of a cheetah on an espresso bender, and you're ready to die on the hill of Ariel versus Calibri, even though deep down, you can't really tell the difference. Then there's flight, mid-argument with your partner about weekend plans, which usually involves one of you wanting to do something fun and the other wanting to organize the Tupperware drawer by color and existential dread. You abruptly remember you urgently need to alphabetize your spice rack. Or you just leave. Physically by walking out, or mentally by staring blankly out the window and contemplating the existential nature of dust bunnies until the other person gives up and goes to watch TV. After that comes the freeze response. Your mind goes completely blank. Poof. Like an Etch-a-Sketch shaken too hard by an overenthusiastic toddler. Someone asks you a direct question in a tense meeting, like, "What are your thoughts on this Q3 projection?" And all you can muster is a deer-in-the-headlights stare, accompanied by the faint sound of crickets and your internal operating system crashing. Your brain has literally blue-screened, and there's no IT support for this. And finally, there's the sneaky, often confusing, fawn response. You suddenly become aggressively, almost alarmingly, agreeable. "Oh, you think my meticulously researched 75-page proposal is utter garbage and I should start over from scratch using only interpretive dance and sock puppets? You're so right. What a brilliant, insightful idea. Can I fetch you an artisanal kombucha and a foot massage while I rethink my entire existence and professional qualifications?" You're trying to appease the perceived threat into submission with niceness so intense it's almost weaponized. This is the nice person's way of fighting dirty, by complete and utter surrender, often leading to a cauldron of resentment bubbling beneath that placid surface, just waiting to erupt like a passive-aggressive volcano. Then there's the infamous amygdala hijack, truth or convenient cop-out for when you act like a toddler who missed nap time. You've probably heard this term thrown around, possibly by someone who just threw something else, like your prize-winning bonsai. Sorry I screamed like a banshee possessed by a particularly vocal demon and then hid under the table, darling. My amygdala got hijacked. It's become the go-to neuroscience light excuse for losing your cool with the grace of a hippo on a unicycle. The amygdala, that almond-shaped bit in your brain, is indeed crucial for processing emotions, especially fear. It's like your brain's bouncer, and sometimes it gets a bit overzealous. And yes, in moments of perceived extreme threat, which again can range from actual tiger to someone used the last of the good coffee, it can trigger a rapid, overwhelming emotional response before your more rational prefrontal cortex, the brain's stuffy librarian, has had its morning coffee and a chance to say, "Now let's be reasonable." Emotional flooding is absolutely a real and terrifying experience, like being caught in an emotional flash flood without a tiny metaphorical lifeboat. But hold on to your neurons, because some actual neuroscientists are now saying, not so fast, buddy. The idea of a simple hijack where one part of the brain completely overpowers another, like a tiny pirate staging a mutiny on the good ship Rational Thought, might be a bit too Hollywood. The brain, it turns out, isn't a neatly compartmentalized bento box with a rational section and an emotional section that occasionally stage coups against each other while wearing tiny berets. It's more like a ridiculously complex, interconnected plate of spaghetti, where everything is touching everything else, and it's all a bit messy. Emotion and cognition are deeply intertwined, constantly influencing each other in a whole brain construction, like a chaotic but strangely functional jazz ensemble. It's a complex interplay, not just a pirate raid led by Captain Amygdala. This is a bit provocative, isn't it? Because it suggests that popular psychology, in its attempt to simplify things so we can feel better about our outbursts, might sometimes offer us get-out-of-jail-free cards for our own behavior, hindering genuine self-reflection and the hard work of developing emotional intelligence. Ouch. Next, we have cognitive tunnel vision, also known in less polite circles as selective asshole vision. When stress hits, your focus narrows dramatically, like looking at the world through a toilet paper tube. Suddenly, all you can perceive are the other person's flaws, their annoying laugh, their questionable taste in socks, the way they breathe too loudly, their past transgressions, that time they forgot your half-birthday in 2011, and that infuriating way they chew their toast like they're trying to personally offend every crumb. Your brain helpfully filters out any evidence of their good qualities, any mitigating circumstances, or, heaven forbid, any indication that you might be contributing to the problem in any way, shape, or form. It's like your brain slaps on a pair of horse blinders that are specially designed to only allow you to see information confirming that the other person is in fact the Antichrist in a sensible cardigan, and you are a long-suffering saint. And let's not forget the body's betrayal. Your internal alarm system is a certified drama queen with a flair for the theatrical. Your heart starts pounding like a drum solo at a heavy metal concert being performed by an octopus on speed. Your breathing gets shallow and quick, like you've just run a marathon you didn't sign up for. You haven't. You've just been asked to discuss the Q3 budget, which is arguably worse. Your muscles tense up as if you're preparing to wrestle a grizzly bear, when in reality, all they said was, "We need to talk." Arguably the four most terrifying words in the English language. Your body is screaming, "Danger! Imminent threat! Release the kraken of anxiety!" While your rational mind, if it can get a word in edgewise over the internal screaming, is feebly whispering, "Dude, it's just about who left the milk out again. Stand down, red alert. It's just milk. Unless, is it a metaphor for something deeper? Oh God, it probably is. And for a truly intriguing, slightly mind-bending dive into your nervous system's secret life, let's talk polyvagal theory. Now, don't let the fancy name scare you off. This isn't as complicated as assembling flat-pack furniture with instructions written in ancient hieroglyphics. Forget the simple fight-or-flight binary. According to Dr. Stephen Porges, your autonomic nervous system, the part of you that keeps you breathing and digesting without conscious effort, has three main states. Understanding these, as described in his polyvagal theory, can feel like unlocking cheat codes to your own emotional and physiological responses, especially in moments of stress or conflict. First is the ventral vagal state. This is your social engagement system, your happy place, your Zen garden of calm. When you're here, you feel safe, connected, calm, and capable of intelligent thought. You can listen, empathize, problem solve like a well-adjusted adult. This is the ideal state for a constructive conversation, where you can actually hear what the other person is saying instead of just planning your next devastating verbal counterattack. Your body is wired for this connection, not just conflict, if the conditions of safety are met, for example, no perceived tigers or overly critical in-laws. Next, you have the sympathetic nervous system state, threat detected. Alarm bells. This is your classic fight or flight. You're mobilized, energized, ready for action, either to confront the danger, usually by yelling about who really started it, or escape it, often by suddenly needing to check if you left the stove on in a different country. Rational thought takes a back seat, possibly gets tied up and thrown in the trunk. And finally, there's the dorsal vagal state. This is the oldest, most primitive part of our nervous system's response. When fight or flight isn't possible or doesn't work, and the threat feels overwhelming, like when you realize you've accidentally insulted someone's dearly departed grandmother's prize-winning quilt, you can go into a shutdown or freeze state. Think playing dead or becoming as animated and responsive as a garden gnome. You might feel numb, disconnected, immobilized, like your brain has just given up and gone on an extended vacation without you. We shift between these states all the time, sometimes with the speed of a caffeinated hummingbird. Crucially, past trauma or chronic stress can make it easier to get stuck in the sympathetic or dorsal states, making it much harder to access that calm, connected ventral vagal state when you need it most, like when you're trying to explain why buying another 17 throw pillows was an absolute necessity. Knowing this is like understanding why you suddenly feel like a cornered, snarling badger or a completely numb statue, or even on a good day, a surprisingly zen master, all during one difficult conversation about who ate the last cookie. It gives you a more nuanced and empowering lens than just fight or flight, because it highlights your biological capacity for calm and connection. If you can signal safety to your nervous system, and maybe just hide the cookies next time. So your brain's not just running on ancient software, it's also got a hair trigger alarm system that turns you into a terrible action hero. If you recognized your own internal DEFCON 1 system going off, hit that like button in solidarity. But the physiological meltdown is just the beginning. After your body freaks out, your brain jumps in, and that's when things get really weird. So hit subscribe and ring that bell, because in part 3, we're stepping into the cognitive funhouse mirror to reveal the sneaky thinking traps that turn you into the unreliable narrator of your own life. Comment below. What's your go-to response? Are you a fighter, a fleer, a freezer, or a fawner when conflict hits? Let us know.